Welcome to the final Downton Gabby, the Downton Abbey chat show of season 4. Now this was an extended, long episode, which means that this recap is going to be really long. So stick with me, I promise it's going to be good. It's the Christmas special, and no, it's not Christmas in February. Don't get all excited. It's not about Christmas at all. It just means that it aired on Christmas in the UK. But it is a really good episode, so stick around. Alright, so there's a bit of a gap between the end of the last episode and this Christmas special. So Edith had the baby and she's back from Switzerland. The baby was a girl and she stayed there for a few months after the birth to kind of like wean her off, and then she gave her to a nice family in Switzerland. We're gonna return to this. Okay. Most of the Crawley family is in London for Rose's like coming out presentation to the royal family and her ball. So one of the great lines from this episode was Mary talking to her parents about Rose wanting to go out. She was all, "Your niece is a flapper, accept it." It was just really funny. I don't know, just the way that Michelle Dockery delivered that line, it was great. So Rose ended up going out to this club in London with her friend Madeline, and who do they see but Madeline's dad? That's kind of awkward. His name is Lord Isgarth. Sorry, I had a moment. Lord Isgarth, and he's gonna come into play in this episode big time. Guess who else they were hanging out with? None other than the Prince of Wales and one of his mistresses, Mrs. Dudley Ward. This Prince of Wales that I'm talking about is King Edward VIII. He will eventually become King Edward VIII, you know, the Wallace Simpson one. He got into some trouble even before that, but it's funny because there was kind of a blackout in the UK press for a lot of his wrongdoings, but these stories did travel to the American press and all over the world, but especially that American press, so it's pretty crazy. Alright, while in London, Mary was like, "I'm gonna go out on a date with Mr. Blake." So she did, and they go to this like art gallery thingy, and Tony Gillingham kind of crashes it. It wasn't a true crash because there were a lot of other people there, even Rose was there. It was like a big event, but at the same time, he kind of crashed their date. It was a little bit awkward. There's definitely some crazy tensions between Gillingham and Blake because they're both like openly going for Mary. It's crazy. Even crazier, the American family is coming. Cora's mother and Cora's brother, who we've heard about but we haven't seen until this episode, they're here. The Americans are here. We're just gonna refer to Cora's brother as Uncle Harold because it's easy. He's the one that got in trouble with the Teapot Dome scandal, and he's like not into the whole European thing, but he's giving it a try because his mommy is making him. Okay, so let's talk about Tom for a little bit. He runs into his good friend, school teacher Sarah Bunting, and they end up having dinner at a pub, and then after dinner she's all like, "So let's see the big house, what's going on?" And none of the family is there because they're all in London, so he's like, I guess, but he feels like really awkward doing it. But she's kind of pushy. Have you guys noticed that? She needs to chill her whatever. So he ends up giving her a tour, and then even after that she's like, "I want to see what it looks like looking down from the gallery." So he's like, "I don't really want to go upstairs with you. It's making me feel uncomfortable," but she just pushes him to do it. So he's like, "Okay, you've seen it, let's go." So as they're about to leave the gallery, Thomas sees them. Ugh. This makes things really awkward for Tom because Thomas hates Tom, and it's just like he's gonna make his life hell. So we're gonna get back to that. Okay, or maybe we're not, but whatever. So Lord Isgarth is totally a gold digger, and he's hitting on Cora's mother big time because he knows she's got the cash. Okay, so he's also pushing off his daughter Madeline onto Uncle Harold. But guess what? Uncle Harold goes through this all the time. He's got the big money, and he knows that the young ladies are going to go for it. So they're all at the club again, and Rose and her friends are all joking about this letter that Mrs. Dudley Ward got from the Prince of Wales. It's a love letter. It's scandalous. And you know who else is at the club hanging out with them? Mr. Sampson from the house party episode, who was like scamming everyone at poker, and Lord Grantham was like, never again, but suddenly he's back in the mix, and he steals the love letter from Dudley Ward's bag. That's nuts. He's gonna sell it to the American press. Oh! Alright, so totally unrelated, but we need to talk about it. Downstairs, Alfred was hired as an underchef at the Ritz Hotel. Yay, Alfred! He's doing big things. So Daisy is talking about this to Uncle Harold's valet, and it turns out that this valet has eyes for Daisy, so he gets all jealous when she's talking about Alfred. And later on in the episode, he's like, Daisy, my boss, Uncle Harold, really likes your cooking, and I really like you, so come be his chef in America. And she's like, what? We'll get her answer later. Turn the page. Mrs. Hughes is continuing her charitable works, and she is participating in this clothing drive for refugees. So Anna is like, here, I want Mr. Bates to get a new coat anyway, take this old one. So Mrs. Hughes is going through the pockets, making sure there's nothing valuable in there, and she finds a train ticket to London, which is very suspicious because he said that he was going to York that one day. Which basically proves, well, it doesn't really prove, but it suggests that Bates probably killed Mr. Gillingham's valet, Mr. Green. What? So Mrs. Hughes is like, this is not good. So she gives a train ticket to Mary. Mary knows the significance. She's freaking out. She doesn't know what to do. Should she turn Bates in? Should she just keep her mouth shut because it was kind of justified? I can't really say that murder is justified, but if I were Dexter, I would probably say that it's justified. So she doesn't know what to do. Again, we'll get back to that. So Rose and some other debutantes are being presented now to the royal family at Buckingham Palace. It's a big deal if you're an aristocrat. So she goes in front of the family. They're all like, oh, it's Lady Grantham and Rose McClare. So the Prince of Wales is all like, sup, I know you, we've partied at that club. I know your dad, I stayed at his house or whatever in Bombay. So it was kind of a big deal because I don't think the royal family really talks that much to you when you're presented. So Rose has got a pretty good setup going into this society life. Okay. So the drama continues between Uncle Harold and Madeline. He's all like, I ain't saying you a gold digger, but you ain't messing with no broke to broke. I had to throw it in there, Kanye. So it kind of hurts her feelings being called a gold digger, even though she kind of is, because she doesn't see it like that. She's just kind of like doing what her father said. And I don't think she realized the implications of her actions, but he felt bad that her feelings were hurt. So Uncle Harold invited her on this picnic to kind of apologize. And he also invited his mother, her father, her meaning Madeline, and a bunch of servants. So, I mean, it was intimate, but at the same time, it was as intimate as you could be in the British aristocracy. So let's talk about the love letter again between the Prince of Wales and Dudley Ward. So Rose is suspecting that Mr. Sampson stole the letter because he was alone with their bags at the table for a little while. So she goes and tells Cousin Robert, and Lord Grantham is like, yeah, I know this guy's a D-bag, so it definitely was him. So he sets up this plan. It's super complicated, so I'm not going to completely go into it because it's just like, oh my god, it's too hard to explain. So they're using Bates because they think that he knows someone who's really good at forgery. Truth is, it's really Bates. He's the forger. And there's going to be a lot of lying involved in this plan. And again, Lady Mary with the awesome line, she's like, I'll do it. I don't mind lying. Again, the delivery was awesome. It made me loll, for real. I laughed out loud. So there was this big scheme to get Samson out of his apartment, so they set up this poker game, and while that's all going on, Mary, Rose, and Mr. Blake break into Samson's dirty flat to look for the letter. It was unsuccessful. But Bates, you sly dog, he knows that that letter must be in Samson's coat, because if it's not going to be in your apartment, you're probably just carrying it around with you. So he, like, pickpockets that letter out of Samson's coat. It's awesome. The family is so thankful that later on in the evening, Mary's like, you know what, that Bates, he's a loyal bastard. So she burns the train ticket to London. That is gone. The evidence is gone. They love him. So let's talk about some Edith stuff. She's got some news about Michael. It turns out on his first night in Germany, he got in a fight with some brown shirts, and something bad could have happened. I don't know. There was some violence there. He might be dead. So she's freaking out. She's like, well, if I'm going to inherit everything from him, I think half of it should go to their child. So she's like, I want my baby back. And Aunt Rosamond's all like, no. We're going to get back to this later. It's time for the Crawley Ball in London. It's Rose's big coming out party, and there's a lot going on. So first of all, the Prince of Wales and his mistress show up right before the dancing starts, and they crash the party. They're like, we're opening this. So the Prince of Wales has the first dance with Rose, and it's kind of a big deal for the Prince of Wales to show up at your party. So wow. Okay, moving on. There's more big things happening. Lord Isgarth proposes to Cora's mother. It astounds me how quickly these things moved back then. It's nuts. Yeah, so she was basically like, no. It was a no. She sees right through it. She's not into it. She doesn't want the title. She wants love. Maybe. So on the other side, Harold and Madeline are talking, and they're basically like, you know what? You're a good person. It's cool. So they're going to be friends, and they're also going to be pen pals. So cute. Okay. Another storyline at the party, the tensions between Mr. Blake and Mr. Gillingham. Knowledge bomb. You know how Mary was all like, Mr. Blake isn't on my side, he's against the aristocracy, he's against everything that I'm for, and Lord Gillingham is like, you don't know this, apparently, but Mr. Blake is inheriting a huge estate. I mean huge. So she's like, what? So, yeah, she finds that out, and it seems like her mind is almost made at that point. Well, almost. I say almost. So they partied all night, and then she talks to him at the end of the night, and she's like, why didn't you tell me this before? And he's like, you know what? I wanted to win you on my own merit. But the fight is on. It's pretty much down to Blake and Gillingham. I'd say Blake has a lead. Napier is totally out of it, but I think Gillingham still has a shot. But I think Blake's in the lead. Let's talk about Edith again. Let's wrap up some loose ends. She was inspired so much by something that Tom said to her at the party about, like, fighting for what you believe in and, like, loving your family, but at the same time keeping your own identity and, like, going for what you believe in. So she was like, I'm bringing my baby home. So she's gonna go to Switzerland. She's gonna get that baby, which is really sad for the family that adopted her. But she strikes up this agreement with the tenant farmer from a few weeks ago, and he agrees to raise it because he's really grateful for what the family has done for him. So she kind of like pulled this crap though. She didn't admit that the baby was hers. She pulled the old, this friend of mine thing. I mean, I guess she can't be like, yo, raise my baby, but it is what it is. The baby's coming home. So let's talk about the downstairs staff real quick and tie up some loose ends there. They were treated by the family to a day at the beach in Brighton. I've been to Brighton. It's awesome. So good for them. Mr. Mosley gives Baxter some words of encouragement to stand up to Thomas, and she does. and it's just an awe moment. It's really cute to see them because Mr. Mosley does not have the best luck, we know that, so it's really nice to see him, I guess, having a relationship in the future with Baxter. It's cool. And Daisy gives her answer to Harold's ballot. She says no to the job and to his lovin'. She doesn't want it. But then, in a surprise turn of events, Ivy asks for the job, and she gets it. So bye, Ivy. I guess they were ready to get rid of that character. She doesn't really have a purpose anymore now that the love quadrangle is over. Bates and Anna, all is good. It just, I mean, the murder thing, the evidence is gone, which Anna didn't even know about in the first place, but it looks like things are looking good for them. And Carson and Mrs. Hughes holding hands, walking together in the ocean, so adorbs. Will they ever end up together? I don't know, but I know everyone is hoping for it. So that's the end of the season. It's over. There's, I think, one more season only, I think. I know there's definitely another season, but I don't know if it's the last one. I think it is. So I want to know what you guys thought of this episode, of this season as a whole, whatever you want. I loved it personally, but I'll talk about it with you guys more in the comments. So I think I'm considering recapping the next season as well, but I think this time I might go along with the UK timetable, which is in the fall. So, I mean, if you're waiting to watch it with the US, that's fine. You can still watch the videos when it airs here, and it's just the same. So, that's it. It's been a great season. I've had a really good time chatting with you guys about it, and this is really long, so I'm gonna end it. And until next time, much love.
Edit.